circumstances, and there are some organizations, especially student groups, which I think, unless you feel the republic is about to fall, really, and church groups, that you really ought not to begin to use churchmen or students or church organizations or student organizations as instruments for espionage or instruments for advancing what we would call, if the Russians were doing it, official government propaganda. And I see no indication that whoever was making these decisions for the CIA has not yet indicated that he was really very sensitive as to the point at which he went beyond that which was acceptable. I think there was a little bit of empire building within the agency on this. Somebody down there must have begun to think he was in the Ford Foundation.
The main defense of the CIA was made by Democrat John Stennis of Mississippi, a member of the Senate's CIA Watchdog Subcommittee.
Was the CIA's entrance, in your opinion, was its entrance into the field of public opinion perhaps a little unwise, do you think?
Well, I might have gone further than I would have gone if I had been in on making the judgments directly. This originated in the early 50s. You remember that's when the Congress was passing here the bill that outlawed the Communist Party, for instance. There was a congressional expression of need. And 17 years later, the courts got around finally to almost emasculating. But that was the atmosphere of the times. Now, as the years come and go, emphasis had to be changed, I think. And perhaps in some of these programs, they didn't change it fast enough. But this is quite serious business. We can't do without it. We must continue it. And I frankly think, I hope at least we'll quit talking about it so much soon, and the people realize, American people realize that this is something different.
The word has already been passed on the Hill, passed from the leadership and from that inner group of men who watch over the CIA. The result is that Congress will do virtually nothing publicly to investigate or reform the agency. The reasoning is this: the publicity already has destroyed the CIA's program of triple pass subsidies, so that even the most extreme critics regard additional exposure as pointless. What the leadership now hopes is that the CIA will recognize that times have changed and will change itself accordingly. Roger Mudd, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Will CIA change? From what to what? As usual, the agency refuses all comment, but a longtime leader of the agency is now a private citizen. And Alan Dulles agreed to break his silence on the CIA's current troubles. He was interviewed by CBS News correspondent George Herman. First question: wasn't the covert use of students in particular a tactical error for CIA?
Well, I wouldn't admit that in the light of the important objectives that one had. After all, it seemed likely at that time that if nothing was done, that the communists would take over the international student movement. And that would have been very serious. And I think, therefore, one was justified, one can differ on this, but I think one was justified in taking the risk of doing what was done. That is, helping students to go to these meetings, to attend these meetings, to express their views there. There's very much too much talked about that they were used as spies. They weren't used as spies. They may have brought certain information back about what the communists were trying to do with the student movement, things of that kind.
But that was not their principal function, or was it a principal function?
No, that was not the principal function. The principal function was to openly express the free American viewpoint in these student meetings.
Did you have any idea how much of a splash it would make when it finally came out that the students were involved? How sensitive an issue it was?
Well, I don't believe so. But as I say, if you stop always and think of all the consequences of all the actions you take, you do nothing. This wasn't a world in which one could do nothing. It wasn't a do-nothing world. It was a world in those days, 48 on, though, for several years along there, when you had to do something and do it rapidly.
We had to do something, says the man who perhaps more than anyone else made CIA what it is today. But there is a deep question about whether in defending America, CIA crossed a line America should not cross. Supreme Court Justice William Douglas talks with Martin Negronsky.
I have always felt that the great strength of America was not in her bombs or her guns or her armies, but in the free flow of ideas, the freedom of people to think and believe and speak and advocate as they like, to travel freely, to represent any point of view that they want, and to be beholden to no one, to be a spy for no one, or a secret agent for no one. And this kind of practice that has been disclosed destroys that image, impairs greatly the usefulness of Americans traveling abroad.
Mr. Dulles, how would you appraise the damage done by the disclosure in the recent months of all these activities?
One can only really do that when one has a historical view of it. I would say that it was harmful, seriously harmful, but not fatal. I think the agency will be able to go on, do its work, but I think that certainly for a time, this publicity is going to be harmful to it.
And to the country?
And therefore to the country.
Directly to the country, in that it hurts the image of American democracy as free and unsecret and frank and open with all the world?
Well, I don't know if it affects the question of freedom so much, but it will make efforts along the lines of the student movement and other movements. It'll make efforts along those lines more difficult.
Mr. Justice, in a free society, as you know, there is a conflict constantly between the demands of national security and those of freedom. Do you feel that this perhaps is an instance of that?
Of course, there's only real security can come only in a full-fledged police state. Then everybody is secure. Everybody knows where everybody else is and what he stands for, and if he doesn't stand for the right things, then there's a place to put him away. And our security is built in just the opposite, not by regimentation, but by trusting people, by having big public debates and arguments, letting people stand for anything across the spectrum of ideas that they want to, and then letting the majority of the people decide which way they want to go. That's America. And as long as we have full disclosure, I think we can develop great security. The insecurity, I think, comes with secret operations, because then people don't know eventually whom to trust, whom to believe, who stands for what, and so you get a gradual loss of confidence and integrity in government, and that is very disastrous in a free society.
Mr. Dulles, you've been a servant of the United States and of the United States government in many places and for a long time. Do you feel at all that by using covert methods to advance this open exchange of ideas between American students and foreign students, do you feel you were undermining the whole theory of what America is about, as some have charged?
No, no, I don't feel that. If you were in a certain kind of a ball game or a boxing match, there are certain rules that you follow. Where you're in a battle, when secret activities are being mounted against you, you can't